Hello, good morning. I am Tsemaye Anora, and I will be your lecturer for the Department of Business Administration, and I'll be taking you on the course Introduction to Business 101. Now, let's begin with knowing our course overview. This course introduces the fundamental concepts of business and how organizations operate. Now, why business matters? This course will make you understand why business matters. Business activities affect our daily lives through the goods and services we consume. Also, under this course overview, we're going to understand the objectives of business, how business functions, grows, and contributes to our society. Now, before we get to all that, you can't know what business is except you know some basic concepts. Understanding the distinctions between needs, wants, and choices is a fundamental in grasping how business operates. Now let's digress and get into what is a need and a want. Now, what are wants? These are things you wish you could have. I would say, for instance, that wants are your desires. They are the things you desire. They are what you wish to attain. For example, you desire a designer watch or going to an exotic location for an exotic vacation. These are wants. These are your desires. They add up to comfort or luxury for your life, but they are not essential for survival. They are often shaped by your personal preferences and societal influences and individual aspirations. We are all different and we aspire for different things. So that is what we classify as wants. What you desire, what you wish for are your wants. Examples of wants, like I previously said, includes your desires. You could desire a gadget is an example of wants. Trips, vacations, or whatever you aspire for in life are what you want. You want them, but it is very different from needs. Now let's get to what needs is. Needs are a necessity of life. They are essential to our livelihood. It's something you cannot do without. It's something that has to be a basic structure of life. That's what differentiates needs from wants. Wants are not necessities. They are just your desires. They are not necessary. They may be part of what you aspire for, but they are not a necessity. Example of needs are food, shelter, and clothing. They are the essentials of maintaining basic human function and well-being. You can as well tell me that there is no one who can live without food. Everybody needs food. Everybody needs clothing and everybody needs shelter. But not everybody needs a designer bag or a designer watch. That is the difference between needs and wants. They are the fundamental requirements that must be met for an individual to survive and thrive. For you to survive and thrive, we have some basic needs. Example of such basic needs are adequate housing, sufficient clothing, and a shelter or a roof over your head to protect you from the elements of the environment. So needs and wants are translated into goods and services. Now this is where business comes in. Now that I've given you the fundamentals, we need to incorporate business into it. Now this is where it gets interesting. Goods and services are now incorporated into needs and wants. Goods can easily be weighed or measured. What are goods? Your foodstuffs, your activities, things you buy, your gadgets, those are what we call goods. Now, services are what you render. Is a task that people or a machine performs. An example of services is a medical doctor attending to your health problem. Example of services is a medical doctor attending to your health problems, or a technician working in your office space. These are examples of services. Now, let's talk about choice making. Making a choice. In making your choices, you attach values and goals to goods and services. Now, what are values? Values differ from product to product. You rate your values based on your needs. Now, do you see where needs and wants come from? Needs and wants equate your values. Now, as an individual, you should know what values you should pertain to in regards to your needs and wants. Now, attaching value is based on an individual perspective. It differs also from individual to individual, from product to product, depending on your immediate needs and wants. And also, this creates goals. Either you have long-term goals or short-term goals. Long-term goals and short-term goals come about from your needs, your wants, and your choices. Your goals equally determine the choice you choose to make. So now you have ranked your needs, you have ranked your wants, and you have created value. Now you have created your value, you now make choices. This will lead us to what is business. Now that we've understood the terms of needs, wants, values, and choices, we can now move on to understand what business is. I hope you are getting the stages and getting the levels at which business is formed and created. Now, Brown et al. Says business is all of the activities of an individual or group of individuals. What does that mean? When you hear that statement, what comes to mind? Business is all of the activities of an individual. But you can hear some people say, I'm not a business person. No, everybody is a business person. Because as long as you are making decisions, as long as you have needs, as long as you have values, as long as you purchase goods, and you also render services, you are a business person. So business is the activities of an individual or group of individuals in producing and distributing goods and services. So with this, we can all say that we are all businessmen at some point, one way or another. But we're going to break it down for you to understand what makes you a professional business person and what makes you a consumer or a distributor. We'll get to that part. But for now, let's give you the basics. Basics of business. Now, business encompasses the entire process of creating, marketing, and delivering products or services to consumers. What does this mean? It means that business curtails everything. It curtails creating, marketing, and distributing of goods and services to customers. It is a dynamic field that constantly adapts to change. What does that mean? That it adapts to change. It is not constant. It is not static. It changes according to the situation of things. It changes according to preferences. It changes according to customer choices. Now, it changes according to the economics of the environment. It changes according to so many things. And as we go further, you will get to learn the intrinsic values that create a good business. Now, getting down to this, we're going to talk about market conditions and technological advancements. Now, businesses seek to understand your needs. That is what business is about. They seek to understand your needs, your wants, your goals and values, and your preferences as well, to tailor their offerings effectively. That is what a business does. They seek to understand your needs, They seek to understand your wants and your goals, and they tailor those needs and those wants and those goals to give you an effective preference of what you should purchase, be it goods or services. Now, business wants to know also how you can gather the information around. By gathering this information, business can develop products and services that resonate with their target audience. So the best businessman is an individual who gets to observe his environment and get to know what they need and try to get them those things. So for you to be a good business person, you need to develop enough products for a target audience that needs it. Not wanting it, but needs it. Because if they need your product, it means it is an essential commodity. And thereby, you are increasing customers' satisfaction and loyalty. Moving on, we're going to be talking about producing goods and services. Producing goods and services. Business provides goods and services to you. The product of goods and services is a core function of any business, aiming to fulfill the diverse needs and wants of customers. All the needs and wants of a customer is provided by business. The complexity and the scope of production has expanded with the advancement of technology. We can all see that the internet has created so many chains of goods and services being transferred from one individual to another by even sitting in your home. That is the advantage of technology. We have learned so much now that business is even quite easy, and we now have online marketers. We have so many channels to which we can even transfer as much as finance without leaving your doorstep. That is what business is all about. It is the complexity and the scope of production that expands according to the needs and the structure of the society. Now, globalization has also allowed business to offer innovative solutions and to cater for the global markets. Business invests significant resources in research and development. A good business will always invest significantly in research, because the more you research, the more you get to know the needs and the wants of people. And when you know them, you understand them, you can meet their needs and you can satisfy their wants. Business is created in high-quality products and services. A good business should be created in the thought of providing high-quality products and services that stand out in a competitive market, because everybody would be trying to produce something. But what differentiates yours from the others? It is how you produce a high-quality product that will stand out. And how can you get a high-quality product that stands out? Making enough research to meet the needs, the wants, and the desires of your environment. Now we are moving to examples of goods and services. If you have any questions, you can easily ask me, and I'll be willing to respond. Thank you. Now, examples of goods and services. We have here an example of goods and services. One of the major examples of goods I love to give is foodstuff. That is one business that can never run out. Right from the beginning of generations, we have all found a source of food. So an example of a good business and an example of goods is foodstuffs. Another example of goods is housing. Having properties, landed personal homes is an example of goods. Another example is gadgets. Your smartphones, your computers, your camera, they are examples of goods. Another example is clothes. Things that you can attain, Things that you can easily attain is what we call goods. Things around you that you attain physically are what we call goods. Your table, your clothes, your bags, your shoes, those are all goods. But what are services? Like I said previously, services are activities that you partake in to help or end up giving positive results to your environment or yourself. Rendering services includes education. Now, education is a service. You're rendering services to people. Examples of services. Education. Rendering learning and knowledge to individuals or people is an example of services, just like what I'm doing right now. Transferring knowledge to learners is a service. Another example of service is taking care or providing health to people. Rendering care as a doctor, a nurse, or a health personnel is a service. Another service is being in the law firm, standing for justice, taking your knowledge to help to save or protect people is an example of services. So education, medicine, law, those are examples of providing services to people. There are many other services that can be provided, but these are just some of the basic few. Now, moving on from goods and services, I believe we now have a little knowledge or a basic knowledge of what goods and services mean. Now, let's get down to a very in-depth question. What a business does. What comes to your mind if I ask you, what does a business do? What would you think about? A lot of activities happen before goods and services get to your doorstep. Now, these are what a lot of activities happen when goods and services get to your doorstep. Now, this is what introduction of business is going to be teaching you all about. The process involves several stages, from initial ideas to conception to final delivery of products. You have an idea and it transcends into conception, and then it grows further to a final delivery of products. It is a whole lot. It is a whole procedure. And while learning this course, you would understand each stage and what they require. It requires careful planning, coordination, execution, and it also requires determination and focus. Businesses must manage resources. For you to be a professional businessman, the second thing after understanding your environment, the needs, the wants, and the values of the people and the environment, the second thing is being able to utilize your resources. You must be able to manage your resources to meet your needs. You must be able to oversee production and ensure quality control and develop effective marketing strategies. Now, there are different ways in which you would be able to do these things. As we go further into this course, you will get to know how to attain them. Now, in our next class, we'll be speaking on supply chain and market trends. We'll also be speaking on the activities that are performed by businesses. We'll also move further to speak on some of the activities that also help in coordinating a business. So for now, we are going to conclude on today's class by summarizing everything we have said. First of all, the most basic thing is knowing the fundamentals of business, which are your needs, your wants, and your choices, which leads to your values and decisions. And it also comes to the decision of business involving satisfying the needs, the wants of your the people and the environment while making profits. Understanding the differences between goods and services, and also understanding that business performs key functions like marketing and finance. These are important, and understanding that business aids in economic growth and development. So I would like to give you some questions to take home. First of all, I would like you to identify a problem in your environment, be it a school, a community, or your daily life. I want you to think of a business idea that can solve that problem and bring it back to me. With this, I would like to end my class, and I hope you have learned and earned some knowledge today. Do have a lovely day ahead. I look forward to our next class with you tomorrow, 8 a.m. GMT. Thank you very much.